but I want to talk some Chicago Bears because I found something really fascinating this week. Pro Football Focus, PFF for the kids on the internet, recently just posted their top offensive line rankings heading in to the season. And you're not going to believe where the Chicago Bears are. For context, heading into the final weeks of the season last year by PFF Pro Football Focus, the Chicago Bears ranked anywhere between 22nd and 25th in the NFL just on the offensive line. At the end of the season, the Chicago Bears had a win-block rate percentage that was good for 17th in the NFL, about 65%. So right around the middle of the pack, but let's be honest, and let's just call for what it is, mediocre to bad. So where does Pro Football Focus have the Chicago Bears in this preseason ranking? They have them fourth. Fourth in the NFL. Fourth in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, they come in at first. The Denver Broncos come in at second. Chicago Bears, they're sitting at fourth. So I had to sit down when I heard this because honestly, this is unhealthy thinking for me right now. This is getting ahead of our skis and getting really a little bit too pumped for football in July, but honestly, don't threaten me with a good time. I've been consistent about it on this show that I'm in wait-and-see mode with the Chicago Bears. I'm done with giving the benefit of the doubt to the Bears hiring cycles. I think it might be different this time with Ben Johnson, but honestly, we really don't know. He comes in with a better pedigree, don't get me wrong, but this is still the Chicago Bears. I'm traumatized. So when you show me that the Chicago Bears are fourth ranked in the NFL for offensive line, that's unhealthy for me. That gets me a little too excited. That's like eating some bad fast food late at night. I can't help myself. I got to dive in. And I will just say that if the Chicago Bears, by the end of this season, keep that ranking and stay in the top 5 in offensive line among the NFL, Chicago Bears are going to go to the playoffs, and I think the Chicago Bears are going to win a playoff game. If you look at the list, it is littered, at least in the top 8, outside of the Indianapolis Colts, with playoff caliber teams. And if you also look at this list and you want to be a Caleb Williams fan and think that he's going to take the next step this year, if you look at that list, Jalen Hurts, not gaudy numbers, but wins games. Second, the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix. How is Bo Nix doing it? How is Sean Payton doing it with a rookie quarterback? Well, he's got a great offensive line. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How is Baker Mayfield having this resurgence in his career? They have an excellent offensive line. Up and down that list, Minnesota Vikings also on that list. How is Sam Darnold getting this huge contract? He's got a great offensive line. So on paper, having a fourth ranking, there's plenty to be optimistic about when it comes to Caleb Williams. Now, I will say that the first part about it that I had to ding this ranking for is in the article, they mentioned that Braxton Jones was rated as an above-average left tackle last year. I'm willing to agree with their assessment. The only problem is the part with this ranking that you have to keep in mind is this is a ranking that is simply on paper. We all know Braxton Jones recovering from ankle surgery. Will he be even ready for training camp? And if he isn't ready for training camp, will he be ready for week 1? That is a huge question mark. That does not account into this ranking. It also says provided Jonah Jackson is healthy, something he's been unable to do the last couple of years. So there are some question marks that have to take place on the field before I'm going to sit here and say and walk in and well, we have a top 5 offensive line. If we finished in the 20s last year, and if we finish, let's say 17, if we make an improvement to the top 8 or the top 12, would you be happy as a Bears fan? Because I personally would. I think that is marked progress. If we jump all the way up to 4th, I think that's when you can really start dreaming about having a special season. I'm not buying this 4th ranking in the NFL among all offensive lines. And what's important about this also is when you talk about what goes on paper to what goes onto the field. One of the challenges for Ben Johnson is going to be trying to instill a message, an attitude, a level of grit that I don't think the Bears have really seen over the last couple of years. And you can't be overly physical in training camp. So how do you go about that? Well, I think one of the keys is on that offensive line is All-Pro Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney, who's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. If they can't necessarily simulate the physicality of NFL football during a training camp because of NFLPA bargaining, at the very least, Ben Johnson's message can be carried through veterans like Joe Thuney. That's why Joe Thuney is so important to this team. I love the fact that they went out and signed Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman was a guy that we heard about for months and months and months. Everyone on the planet knew that the Bears were going to try and target Drew Dalman. They went out, they got the job done. High five to Ryan Poles for executing his plan on that. But Joe Thuney came out of nowhere. And Joe Thuney, I think, is the big reason why some people, and Pro Football Focus, they're not just hot take people. They take a lot of analytics and stats, and they put it into those rankings. I think that's why they think the Chicago Bears could possibly be poised to jump at that position group. And if they can, maybe not be the fourth best in the NFL, if they could possibly be top 10, if they could even possibly be top 12, the future is bright for Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson's offense legitimately has a chance. My whole life, Bears fans, you know this, my whole life and your life too, we've lived plenty of days where our Chicago Bears defense has been ranked, whatever stat that you want, in the top 4, top 5, in some years even at the top of the league, but also maybe a top 8 type defense on the upper half of the league. We've never had an offense that ranked in anything other than a 2, followed by another number. In 2018, they got to the middle of the pack. If the Chicago Bears can somehow have complementary football with a defensive unit that by analytics and metrics is ranked somewhere in the middle of the NFL, while also having an offense that's ranked in the middle of the NFL, combine that with an offensive line that could perhaps be ranked in the top 12 of the NFL, I think it's going to be the type of football that we haven't seen in Chicago in years. And if you want to get on board with double-digit wins, playoffs, that offensive line and that ranking, that should give you some hope. My only thing that I would say is just take it, enjoy it. It's July, it's summer. I don't think they're going to end up as the 4th best offensive line in the NFL. But if they get close to that, that is a marginal gain. That is a huge upgrade. Drew Dalman at center, huge upgrade. Joe Thuney at left guard, huge upgrade. Left tackle, question mark. Right guard, probably an upgrade based on health if Jonah Jackson could just get out there, because right guard was a total train wreck last year. And then you have the question of third year Darnell Wright. Can he take the next step and become not the All-Pro, become the Pro Bowl player that everyone wanted to see from him when Ryan Poles drafted him? I'm sorry I'm talking offensive line in July. I'm going to get to you in the next segment. We are going to talk a little bit about some offense. But this is the stuff you have to keep an eye on right now as we head into training camp. Because things will get a little less physical. It will be a little bit more finesse. We'll be able to talk ourselves into some of the offensive components of this unit that Ben Johnson's trying to run out there a little bit easier than some of the nuts and bolts. That's the stuff that we're going to really have to drill in on, get really good at, if the Chicago Bears want to be successful offensively this season.